I'm Sophia Martinez, a 28-year-old woman who spent most of her life feeling invisible at family dinners. But last month, my mom whispered words that would change everything between us forever. While my sister Victoria received standing ovations for her nursing achievements, I sat silently, hiding my own success, my career's biggest accomplishment. I wasn't allowed to mention my job, so I didn't. Instead, I let Forbes magazine do the talking. But before I get into how my family discovered my success through a simple Google search, I want to know, have you ever felt overlooked by your own family? Please hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to get intense. Growing up in a traditional Hispanic household in San Antonio, Texas, I always felt like the square peg trying to fit into a round hole. My parents, Patricia and Robert Martinez, had very clear ideas about what made a real career. My mom stayed home raising me and my sister Victoria, while my dad worked construction for 32 years, building his reputation one project at a time. Victoria, 3 years older than me, seemed to understand the family blueprint from the start. By age 5, she was already playing doctor with her dolls, declaring to anyone who would listen that she wanted to help sick children. My parents would beam with pride, sharing her aspirations with neighbors, relatives, and anyone who would hear. Meanwhile, I was in my bedroom at age 12, teaching myself to code on our old desktop computer. While Victoria studied anatomy books, I devoured programming tutorials, staying up until 2 a.m. to work through JavaScript problems. When I showed my parents a website I built, they smiled politely, as if I'd just presented a finger painting. "That's nice, Mija," my mom would say, patting my head. "But why don't you focus on your regular schoolwork?" The message was clear. What I was passionate about wasn't valuable enough to warrant attention. High school only deepened these differences. Victoria joined the Health Careers Club, volunteered at hospitals, and collected awards in science. Every dinner conversation revolved around her latest academic achievements, her college applications to nursing programs, and the bright future everyone could see for her. Meanwhile, I was freelancing as a web designer by 16, earning my first $500. When I shared this milestone with my family, expecting recognition, my dad's response was telling. "That's good for spending money," he said, not looking up from his plate. "But you need to think about a stable career. Something with benefits." It wasn't just me. College revealed the fault lines in our family. Victoria chose nursing at UT Health San Antonio, a decision that prompted weeks of celebration, campus visits, phone calls, and proud family gatherings. When I announced my acceptance to the computer science program at UT Austin, the response was different. "Computer science?" my Aunt Carmen asked, raising an eyebrow. "What kind of job is that?" "Programming." I tried to explain, matching Victoria's enthusiasm as she spoke about her future patients. "I'll build software," I said. "Create applications that millions of people might use." But the table went quiet. My Uncle Miguel, never one to hide his thoughts, asked, "But what do you actually do, like with your hands?" Victoria immediately launched into stories about her clinical rotations, and soon, the conversation shifted back to familiar territory. I learned to stay quiet about my own academic achievements, my internships, and the excitement I felt about my chosen field. During my junior year at UT Austin, I landed an internship at a promising startup in the city's growing tech scene. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged. My supervisor, Marcus, a 29-year-old entrepreneur, treated my ideas with respect and gave me real responsibilities. But when I came home for weekend visits, sharing stories about product launches and user metrics, my family's eyes glazed over. The technical language might as well have been ancient Greek to them. But when Victoria called to update everyone about her patient care experiences, every detail received rapt attention. "Tell us about the little boy with the broken arm," my mom would say, settling in for a long story. Her tales of emergency rooms and sick children had drama, human elements, and clear heroes. My stories about debugging code or optimizing databases couldn't compete. Christmas dinner in my senior year of college was the final turning point. Victoria had just received news about her acceptance into a competitive pediatric unit. The celebration lasted the entire evening. Aunts, uncles, and cousins called to congratulate her. My mom spent an hour on the phone with my grandmother, describing every detail of Victoria's achievement. That same week, I had received an offer for a full-time position at a tech company with a salary that exceeded what my dad made after 30 years in construction. When I shared this news, hoping to finally receive some recognition, my mom's response was brief and lukewarm. "That's good, honey. Now tell us more about Victoria's orientation schedule." Sitting at that dinner table, watching my family celebrate Victoria while dismissing my own success, I realized something profound about us. To them, success meant recognition and understanding from others. Since they couldn't comprehend what I did for a living, they couldn't celebrate it properly. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom, I made a decision that would shape the next chapter of my relationship with my family. If they couldn't appreciate my achievements, maybe it was time to stop seeking their approval entirely. Graduation season brought this dynamic into sharp focus. Victoria's nursing school ceremony was treated like a coronation. My parents took time off work, my grandparents drove in from Corpus Christi, and my Aunt Carmen organized a celebratory dinner. The pride was genuine, and Victoria deserved it. But what stung was the contrast when my graduation came. 2 weeks later, with a summa cum laude degree in computer science, I had secured a job offer from TechFlow Solutions, a fast-growing startup with $8 million in series of funding. My family attended the ceremony, but the energy felt obligatory. They took photos and made polite comments, but there was none of the electric excitement that had surrounded Victoria's milestone. During the graduation dinner, conversation kept drifting back to her job orientation and apartment hunting. "Sophia, tell everyone about your new job," my mom said, clearly trying to include me. I shared my excitement about the company and my role as a junior software engineer. My Uncle Miguel listened politely, then asked, "But what does the company actually make?" "Mobile apps," I said. "Software that helps people manage their finances, track their health, organize their schedules." His response? "So, like games?" It stung. Victoria's work had visible, immediate impact. She could come home with stories about helping children feel better or saving lives. My work existed in the abstract lines of code, features, tools, apps. The impact was real, but invisible. By my second year at TechFlow Solutions, the company had evolved into a major player in the small business software market. When our app was featured in TechCrunch, I couldn't wait to share the news. I called my mom immediately, reading highlights from the article and explaining the significance. "That's wonderful, Mija," she said, warmly. "I'm sure your coworkers are excited." Meanwhile, Victoria had received another certification in pediatric care, and the family celebrated again. The disparity in responses was becoming impossible to ignore. My achievements were acknowledged, but not celebrated. Victoria's were treated as family triumphs. Holiday gatherings felt like exercises in emotional endurance. I'd share stories about successful product launches, only to be met with polite nods before the conversation shifted to Victoria's latest medical adventures. The breaking point came at a family barbecue. I had just received a promotion to senior developer with a significant salary increase. My mom's response? "That's nice, dear. More responsibility is always good." 10 minutes later, Victoria mentioned she'd been selected to mentor new nursing students. The family's reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. The stark contrast between the excitement for Victoria and the dismissal of my success hit me hard. I made a decision that night. If they couldn't celebrate my achievements, I would stop sharing them entirely. I would focus on building something so impressive that their recognition would become irrelevant. I joined Innovate Pro, a startup founded by Sarah Chin, a former Google product manager, and became its lead developer. The decision to leave TechFlow Solutions was one I didn't share with my family. They had never understood my career, so why would I expect them to understand this? Victoria's wedding planning dominated family discussions, venue selection, guest lists, honeymoon destinations, while I was working 18-hour days, building the foundation of a business analytics platform that would change an entire industry. 6 months later, we launched the beta version of Innovate Pro. The response exceeded expectations. Local business media took notice, and soon, Forbes reached out for an interview about our innovative approach to AI-powered business analytics. That was the moment everything changed. While my family celebrated Victoria's engagement, I quietly checked my phone at the party. Forbes had just contacted me. They wanted to feature Innovate Pro in an article about disruption in the small business tech sector. I hadn't shared my success with my family in months. They still didn't understand. But now they'd have no choice but to see what I had built. Sometimes, the greatest victory is no longer seeking the approval of those who can't see you for who you really are. Victoria's happiness was beautiful and genuine, radiating as she danced at the wedding reception, surrounded by family members who had supported her every step of the way. But as I watched her, I felt both connected to and isolated from the people I loved most. 3 weeks after the wedding, Forbes published an article about Innovate Pro, featuring us as one of the 5 companies revolutionizing small business technology. The article included professional photos of our team, a detailed analysis of our business model, and projections about our potential market impact. It brought immediate industry attention, with investment firms reaching out, potential corporate partners inquiring about collaborations, and recruiting firms contacting our team. Yet, my family remained completely unaware of any of this. At our next monthly family dinner, conversations centered around Victoria's honeymoon photos and her adjustment to married life. When someone asked about my work, I gave my usual response. Things are busy, but going well. The disconnect between my 2 lives had become complete, one as a successful entrepreneur gaining national recognition, and the other as a family member whose achievements were too abstract to warrant interest. I didn't realize how soon this double life would collide. In October, our monthly family dinner brought a new element. Victoria and David were joining us to share exciting news about Victoria's career development. I arrived 20 minutes late after staying at the office to finish a crucial investor presentation. Walking into my parents' dining room, I could sense the electric energy surrounding Victoria's announcement. The good china was out, there were flowers on the table, and everyone's posture suggested anticipation of something worth celebrating. As I took my seat, my mom leaned over and whispered words that would echo in my mind for months. "Don't mention your job tonight. Victoria has wonderful news to share." The request hit me like a physical blow. After years of feeling overlooked, my own mother was explicitly asking me to remain silent about my professional life to avoid overshadowing Victoria's moment. Victoria's news was indeed impressive. She'd been accepted into a competitive nurse practitioner program, a highly selective program that represented years of hard work and dedication. The family's response was everything she deserved. My parents beamed with pride, Aunt Carmen called it a dream come true, and Uncle Miguel launched into a detailed discussion about the expanded scope of practice for nurse practitioners. David contributed thoughtful questions about the program, and the conversation flowed naturally with everyone expressing enthusiasm for her achievement. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed with the Forbes interview confirmation email. After weeks of communication, they confirmed my inclusion in their upcoming 40 Under 40 list, recognizing young entrepreneurs disrupting industries. The timing was almost ironic. As my family celebrated Victoria's educational accomplishment, I was hiding news about national recognition for building a company revolutionizing business analytics for thousands of small businesses across the country. As Victoria detailed her plans for the intensive 2-year program, I studied my family's faces. Their attention was complete and genuine. Every question was thoughtful, every response engaged. Uncle Miguel, who had dismissed my tech career as computer games, was now asking sophisticated questions about Victoria's future patient populations. The contrast was stark. Victoria's work was seen as meaningful and impactful, while mine remained in the realm of incomprehensible technical activities. At dinner, the conversation never strayed far from Victoria's achievement. Plans were made for a celebration dinner, and everyone offered assistance for her demanding program. I participated appropriately, expressing pride in my sister's success. But my frustration wasn't with her, it was with the stark contrast in how our respective achievements were received and valued. When Uncle Miguel casually remarked, "At least Victoria has a real career that helps people," the comment landed like a slap. My work was dismissed as abstract, while hers was considered meaningful. That night, as I drove home, I realized just how deeply my family had underestimated me. I was genuinely happy for Victoria, but the disconnect between my professional life and my family's perception was painful. Forbes had just confirmed my inclusion in their prestigious 40 Under 40 list, yet I had been explicitly asked to remain silent about my success. Sitting in my apartment overlooking downtown Austin, I made a decision. If they wanted me to stay silent, I would honor that request, but I wouldn't hide my success. I would simply let them discover it on their own terms, in their own time, through their own research. The weeks following the dinner marked the beginning of my information embargo. I decided to remain silent during family conversations about professional topics, respecting the unspoken rule that my work was too abstract to warrant attention. Meanwhile, the company continued to grow at an accelerated pace, exceeding all projections. Our story was being covered by major publications, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, and CNN, and my professional recognition continued to soar. But my family remained completely unaware. In November, during our monthly family dinner, the conversation turned to my work. I kept my responses minimal, simply saying, "Things are busy." The contrast was becoming comical. Victoria's study schedule was receiving more family attention than my national recognition or our company's growth. December brought the Forbes notification that would change everything. I had been selected for Forbes 30 Under 30, one of the most prestigious recognitions for young business leaders. The timing was perfect, with our company preparing for a major funding round and national expansion. Yet, my family remained unaware of my achievements, still entirely focused on Victoria's academic success. Christmas dinner that year was particularly challenging. The family conversation was dominated by Victoria's success, which was genuinely impressive, and my parents beamed with pride. I participated, celebrating her achievements while privately processing the surreal nature of the evening. Forbes would soon publish an article featuring my work, but here I was, sitting at a family dinner where my professional life was completely disregarded. The article was scheduled for publication in late January, coinciding with a major partnership reveal for the company. Industry colleagues were congratulating me on LinkedIn and via email, but none of that reached my family. It felt like I was living in parallel universes, with one world unaware of the other. On January 23rd, the article was published. The following morning, my phone rang with a call from my mom. She had just discovered the article, and my carefully maintained separation between professional achievement and family recognition was about to collapse. "I found an article about you in Forbes," my mom said, her voice tense. I had been expecting this moment, but never fully believed it would happen. Aunt Carmen, while researching the family, had Googled me and found the article. "We need to talk," my mom continued, her voice firm. "Tonight. Family dinner. Everyone will be there." That evening, I walked into my parents' house, feeling the tension in the air. Everyone had gathered, and the Forbes article was printed out on the coffee table, highlighted in places. My dad said, "Sit down. We have questions." The interrogation began, with questions about how long I had been building the company, why I hadn't shared the Forbes interview process, and what exactly my work involved. Victoria, to her credit, was the first to move beyond interrogation. "I'm confused," she said. "This article makes it sound like you've built something really significant. Why didn't you tell us?" The question hung in the air, creating space for a conversation that had needed to happen for years. I responded slowly, "Because you never seemed interested in what I was building." The defensive responses were immediate, but the conversation had begun. It wasn't the revelation I had imagined, but it was a start, a moment that would transform my family dynamics forever. The conversation began with a simple question from my mother: "Why didn't you tell us about your work?" It hung in the air, creating a space for the conversation we'd needed to have for years. I slowly replied, "You never seemed interested in what I was building." The defensive responses came immediately. My parents insisted they'd always been supportive. My aunt claimed they'd asked about my work regularly, and Uncle Miguel suggested I'd been deliberately secretive. To challenge these claims, I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app where I had been tracking family dinner conversations for months. At Victoria's engagement party, how long did we spend discussing her nursing achievements? I asked. My mom protested, "That's different. We understand what nursing involves." "Exactly," I replied, "and because you couldn't understand what I do for a living, you decided it wasn't worth understanding." The conversation grew heated as family members defended their interest, but the evidence was overwhelming. Deep down, they knew I was right. Victoria surprised everyone by speaking up in my defense. "She's right," she said quietly. "I've watched it happen every time Sophia tries to share something about her work. We change the subject or give polite responses before talking about something else." Her validation shifted the room's energy. My mom's tears started to form. "We didn't know," she said. "We didn't understand that you were building something this significant." "That's the point," I replied. "You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't understand because you didn't try to understand." Uncle Miguel, who had always dismissed my work as computer games, studied the Forbes article that described our company's impact on small businesses. "This says you're helping thousands of small businesses make better decisions," he said. "Over 200,000 at this point," I corrected him, "and we're projected to reach 1 million by the end of the year." David, who had always been respectful but distant about my work, asked the most insightful question of the evening. "What would it have meant to you if we'd been following your progress and celebrating your achievements along the way?" That question cut to the heart of everything I'd been feeling for years. My professional achievements felt hollow without the support of my family. It would have meant everything, I admitted. The conversation continued into the early hours of the morning, with family members asking detailed questions about our technology, growth plans, and my role in building the company. For the first time, their interest felt genuine. But as the night wore on, I knew the damage of years of dismissal couldn't be undone in a single conversation. Trust once broken takes time to rebuild. I left feeling both vindicated and exhausted. My family finally understood the significance of what I'd built, but their newfound interest seemed conditional on external validation rather than genuine respect for my work. 6 months later, I sat in my office overlooking downtown Austin, reflecting on how dramatically our family dynamics had shifted since that February confrontation. The healing process hadn't been immediate or simple, but there had been steady progress. Victoria was the first to make a genuine effort toward understanding my work. 2 weeks after the Forbes article came out, she called and asked if she could visit our office and meet my team. "I realize I've never actually seen what you do," she admitted. During the tour, she asked thoughtful questions and observed our daily operations. "This is incredible," she said, after meeting our team and seeing the impact of our analytics platform. "You've built something that actually helps people run their businesses better." Her enthusiasm felt different from the polite interest I'd received in the past. She was seeing my work firsthand, meeting my colleagues, and understanding how our technology was improving small businesses. My parents' adjustment took longer. They had always measured success in more traditional terms: completed projects, satisfied customers, steady paychecks. Understanding equity, user growth, and software development required a broader perspective. The breakthrough came when I arranged for them to meet Marcus Rodriguez, a small business owner who had grown significantly using our platform. "I didn't understand that computer work could help real businesses," my dad admitted after hearing Marcus's story. As the months went by, our family dinners began to evolve. Instead of always focusing on Victoria's achievements, we began sharing updates about each other's careers with equal time and attention. The shift wasn't always smooth. Old habits die hard. But Victoria became an unexpected ally, redirecting the conversation back to my work when the family slipped into old pattern. Over time, Uncle Miguel's transformation was the most dramatic. He went from dismissing my career to becoming one of my most enthusiastic supporters. He started following tech industry news, asking detailed questions about our growth, and even referring potential customers to our platform. "I was wrong about technology careers," he admitted at a family barbecue. "I didn't understand that software could be as important as traditional businesses." Carmen, too, surprised everyone by becoming fascinated with the entrepreneurial side of building a company. She began asking thoughtful questions about fundraising, team management, and business strategy. The most significant change came when my family celebrated my invitation to speak at South by Southwest. My parents attended the conference, brought extended family members to hear my presentation, and organized a celebration dinner afterward. For the first time, I experienced the kind of comprehensive family support that Victoria had always received. Similarly, when Victoria was accepted into a prestigious fellowship program, I made sure to ask detailed questions about her process and career implications. Our support for each other had become reciprocal and felt natural. While our relationship still wasn't perfect, we had built a new foundation based on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's achievements. The most important lesson I learned wasn't just about family dynamics, but about the value of building self-worth independent of others' recognition. The Forbes recognition was gratifying, but it wasn't more valuable than the personal satisfaction I had gained from building something meaningful. My family's initial inability to appreciate my work reflected their limitations, not the inherent value of what I had built. Learning to separate external validation from internal satisfaction was crucial for maintaining emotional health during years of feeling overlooked. Today, Innovate Pro employs over 60 people, serves more than 800,000 small businesses, and has been valued at over $40 million. These achievements are rewarding not just because of professional recognition, but because our work genuinely improves people's lives. The validation I had been seeking from my family was always secondary to the impact we were creating for our users. But having both professional success and family support felt like the completion of a journey that began with feeling invisible at family dinners and ended with being seen, understood, and celebrated. For anyone currently feeling overlooked by family members who don't understand your career path, remember that their inability to appreciate your work reflects their limitations, not your worth. Build something meaningful, celebrate your own achievements, and maintain confidence that recognition will eventually come. Focus on creating value for the people who truly benefit from your efforts. Have you ever felt overlooked by family members who didn't understand your career path? How did you handle the disconnect between your professional achievements and family recognition? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family dynamics and building confidence in your own worth. Thank you for listening.